Here is a fact that the bass industry would prefer you never think about too hard. A huge share of the basses hanging in your local shop, wearing completely different logos, at completely different prices, were built in the same handful of factories, sometimes on the same production lines, by the same workers, from very similar parts. The badge on the headstock was applied at the end. The price tag was applied by the marketing department. And once you see how this actually works, you will never pay full badge price again. So today I am pulling back the curtain on the OEM system, the original equipment manufacturing world that quietly builds most of the affordable bass market. I will show you the giant factories nobody talks about, which famous brands they build for, how to read a bass like a customs officer to figure out where it really came from, and the honest rules for using all of this to buy smarter. This is not a scandal video. Nothing here is illegal or even secret inside the industry. It is just information the price tags hope you never connect. Stay with me to the end, because the last section is the practical part. 3 rules that turn this knowledge into real savings, including the one question that instantly tells you whether a badge is charging you for the factory or for the marketing. And what I tell you in section 3 about country of origin stickers is going to change how you read every spec sheet from now on. A quick honest note before we start. No brand paid for this video, nobody gets protected, and the links below are plain product links, no markup, no affiliate games. But I did build something for you. The complete buyer's guide, every goldmine and money trap from this channel in one honest map. That's in the description too. Now let's get into it. Part 1. The factories you have never heard of that built the bass you own. Let's name the biggest one. Cort, or more precisely, Cor-Tek, a Korean company with enormous factories in Korea, Indonesia, and China. Cort sells basses under its own name, and we praised them in an earlier video for exactly this reason. But the bigger business is building instruments for other companies. Over the years, publicly documented, Cort facilities have built for some of the most famous names in the industry, including budget lines of brands whose flagship instruments cost thousands. The second giant, World Musical Instruments in Korea, the factory behind a large share of the premium budget market. The instruments reviewers call surprisingly well built for the price. When a $200 bass and a $700 bass come off lines in the same industrial park, built by workforces with the same training, the wood and the wiring do not know which logo they are about to receive. The build quality difference between those instruments is real, but it is a difference of specification, which parts were ordered, how much finishing time was paid for, not a difference of craftsmanship universe. Part 2. What identical actually means and what it does not. Let's be precise, because this is where the internet exaggerates. Same factory does not mean same instrument. Brands order to their own specifications, different pickups, different hardware, different wood grades, different quality control tolerances, different amounts of fret finishing time. A brand that pays for more QC time gets a more consistent instrument out of the very same building. So no, your budget bass is not literally a relabeled version of the expensive one. But here is what shared factories do mean. The baseline competence, the tooling, the CNC machines, the finishing lines, the assembly experience is common. The $200 bass is not built by worse hands. It is built by the same hands to a cheaper spec sheet. And that changes the buying question completely. Instead of asking which badge is better, you ask which specification differences am I actually paying for? And can I hear them? Sometimes the answer is yes. Better pickups and better QC are worth real money. Very often at triple the price, the answer is, you are paying for 4 letters on the headstock. Part 3. How to read a bass like a customs officer. The industry does not exactly advertise this stuff, but the instrument itself talks if you know where to look. First, the serial number. On many Asian-built instruments, the first letters of the serial encode the factory, and the community has decoded most of them. Search your bass's serial prefix together with the word factory, and you will usually find the answer within 3 forum posts. Second, the country line. Made in Indonesia, made in Korea, made in China tells you less than people think. The same country hosts world-class lines and bargain lines, but combined with the brand and the era, the community can usually pin the exact plant. Third, the tells on the instrument itself, the shape of the neck plate, the style of the control cavity routing, the standard hardware castings that half the industry shares, the identical bridge you have seen on 6 other brands. That bridge is not a coincidence. It comes from the same parts catalog everything else in that factory uses. None of this makes an instrument good or bad on its own, but it kills the mythology, and mythology is where the overpricing lives. Part 4. The 3 rules, this is where you get paid. Rule 1. Buy the factory, not the badge. If you know a factory builds reliably good instruments, the cheapest badge coming out of it is the best deal in the building. That is the whole logic of house brands, and it is why we keep recommending gear whose only sin is an unfashionable logo. Rule 2. Pay for specs you can hear, not for the name. Before you pay double, ask the one question. What exactly is different, and can I hear it through an amp? Different pickups, real answer, maybe worth it. Same electronics, prettier top, be honest about buying looks. No answer at all, you have found the marketing tax. Rule 3. Use spec sheets like a detective. Compare the actual components. When the $800 bass and the $300 bass list the same tuners, the same bridge and suspiciously similar pickups, the difference in the middle is branding, and now you know exactly what you would be paying $500 for. Sometimes it is still worth it to you. Resale, prestige, dealer network, fine. But do it with open eyes. So here is the whole picture. A handful of giant, competent factories build most of the affordable bass world. The badge is applied last and priced first. Same factory never means same instrument, but it means the craftsmanship floor is shared, and once the craftsmanship is shared, the only honest questions are about specifications and sound. Buy the factory, pay for what you can hear, read the serial, not the marketing. That is how you stop paying for the 4 letters and start paying for the instrument. Tell me in the comments if you have ever discovered your bass was built in the same factory as one 3 times the price, and which one it was. The community's factory detective work is honestly better than any database. And if you know an OEM story I did not cover, drop it below. That is next video material. Everything is linked in the description, including the buyer's guide. Subscribe for honest, no hype truth about bass gear, and I would be genuinely glad to have you along for the ride.